let's discuss why sleep is so important. And for men, if you get less than a certain number of hours of sleep per night, your testicles actually shrink. So let's break down this super long podcast. We're talking 3 hours into bite-sized chunks, where Dr. Huberman and Dr. Walker break down why sleep is so foundational for your stress hormones by decreasing body fat, increasing your testosterone, as well as decreasing brain waste. And if you get little amount of sleep, it can actually lead to brain damage. All right, so let's break down only the key points in this 3 hour long podcast. So key point number 1 is sleep stages and their physiological effects on the body. So the first thing that's mentioned in the podcast is during REM sleep, that rapid eye movement, basically deep sleep, some parts of the brain are up to 30% more active than when you're awake. And this completely violates the idea that your brain is asleep or basically at rest during sleep. So the brain paralyzes the body during REM sleep so that the mind can dream safely, preventing dangerous behaviors that could lead to injury or even death. Also, deeper stages of non-REM sleep involve remarkable physiological coordination of hundreds of thousands of cells in the context of firing and going silent together, which is not seen during any other brain state. So that's why sleep is so important. The next key point is huge about your emotional state. So different stages of sleep affect physical and emotional well-being in different ways, with deep non-REM sleep being the most important for regulating hormones and even your blood pressure, and REM sleep, that deep sleep, being the most important for your testosterone and even growth hormone production, which regulates your mood, regulates how well your body retains muscle, and how well your body loses fat. The next key point is that adenosine actually brings everything down. It works by inhibiting weight promotion areas inside the brain while increasing sleep promotion regions, which creates a beautiful push and pull mechanism in our biology. Next, the podcast goes into the brain's homeostatic mechanism, basically trying to balance itself, and it tries to make up for lost REM sleep, but it never fully recovers, leading to potential long-term negative effects on sleep quality. So let's just say you work swing shift, or let's just say you had a bender of a weekend for a bachelor party, and you didn't really get good sleep. Sometimes you're gonna try to get more sleep after that huge party, or after, let's say, that wedding, and your body is not able to recover. So just know that every moment or every day that you go without good quality sleep, your body's actively trying to make up that time. The next key point by far is my favorite, and probably the most important. Temperature variation is a lever that is quite powerful in inducing sleep state. By dropping core body temperature by about 1 degree Celsius is necessary for all of us to fall asleep and also stay asleep at night. So if you find yourself waking up at different hours of the night, it could be 2 things. It's either 1, your body's not cool enough to maintain that deep sleep, or number 2, your body is too stressed and cortisol is misfiring in your adrenals, those little caps on the top of your kidneys. So as you know, cortisol is the stress hormone, and cortisol is a good thing. It wakes you up in the morning and makes you feel refreshed. But if you are too stressed, then it can be misfiring, waking you up at all hours of the night. So when I was really stressed, making all these scripts when we were building Simple Nursing, the nursing site for helping nursing students, I was finding myself waking up at 3 a.m., not being able to go back to sleep. Now, one thing that really helped me was ashwagandha. Now, Dr. Huberman does not recommend taking ashwagandha all the time. So taking ashwagandha at like 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon actually resets your cortisol and makes you fall asleep a lot deeper. But you're only going to want to take it during high stress periods. So one key point that both doctors make is that sleep has fought its way heroically through every step along our evolutionary path, and every sleep stage has survived the best it can, or the best that we can tell. Also, there's a very intimate association with emotional well-being and your sleep health. It was found that no major psychiatric disorders had good sleep. So figuring out your emotional well-being and really getting yourself and your stress levels down to a normal level affects sleep dramatically. So being in the hospital, I worked in the ER for about 7 years, and one of the biggest things is if you're dealing with bipolar depression, or really any depression, even anxiety, it's going to affect your sleep. So managing that first will drop you into deeper sleep. The podcast goes on to highlight behavioral tools and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for insomnia. And it's just as effective, if not more effective, than actual sleeping pills for improving sleep in the long run. Because remember, every time you pop a pill, you're just putting on a Band-Aid. So you don't want to really abuse it. You want to figure out how to get your body into that lower stress level so you can get deeper sleep. Now, one of the biggest points that the doctors make is that sleep is a civil right of all human beings. Society should not stigmatize sleep or make people feel guilty for not getting enough sleep that they actually need. The importance of sleep quality and efficiency comes paramount to your job, to your kids, to your family. Because if you're not showing up in the best version of yourself and always stressed out and always anxious and always tired, what are you really doing? So to create the best version of yourself and the foundation of health, you need to reset your hormones with deep sleep and also decrease brain waste, which is going to add up over time. Because remember, the brain detoxes itself during sleep. So the more deeper sleep you get, the more brain waste is going out of the brain and out of the body. All right, here's one of the interesting points. Sleep efficiency is far more important than total time slept. So for example, if you're in bed for 12 hours, but what is your real sleep efficiency? With a healthy sleep efficiency being above 85%. So if you use a Whoop strap or an Oura ring or even a Fitbit to track your sleep, you want to look at sleep efficiency, which is far more important than the hours of time that you were asleep. Which leads us to a very important key point. The quality of sleep is just as important, if not more important, than the quantity of sleep for good, beneficial daily outcome. So that leads us to the big key point of the podcast entirely. The quality of sleep is the most important here. It's just as important as the quantity of sleep. So the key metric is getting at least 7.5 hours or more. But really the quality and efficiency of sleep should be over 85%. And they say that it leads to the best beneficial outcome for next day, feeling refreshed, hormones reset, and the waste in your brain being decreased. Now the podcast with Dr. Huberman and Dr. Walker wraps up with some practical tips on really how to get out of your own head and decrease your stress. One of the biggest things that they talk about is writing down your worries and concerns in a journal right before bed. So this can decrease the time it takes to fall asleep by up to 50%. And it's right on par with any type of drug that you can take. All right, so to wrap up this video, let me give you my 7 top recommendations that I personally do, taken from Dr. Walker, Dr. Huberman, even Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and a few other experts. So number 1 is the sleep-wake cycle. So you want to go to bed and wake up at the same time or within a 1-hour window consistently. This establishes your correct circadian rhythm. So for example, if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock or between 10 and 11, you want to make sure that's consistent. And then whatever 7 hours or 8 hours, even if you get more than that or less than that, you want to make sure that you're waking up at that time very consistently. So for me, I'm a night owl. I like to go to bed at midnight, even 1 a.m. at sometimes, just because I get more energy at night. Whatever is good for you, just make sure it's consistent. So if you have a Whoop strap, an Oura ring, even a Fitbit, and I'm not sure about Apple Watch, but I think it would probably do the same thing, it tracks your daily recommended sleep cycle. So it'll actually give you cues on when you should go to sleep and when you should wake up. I know the Oura ring talks about your chronotype, or basically all of your data that's compounded over months, and it gives you the best recommendations of when you should sleep and when you should wake. So if you don't have an Oura ring, I'd recommend to get one. Even a Whoop strap is great. Also, it tracks efficiency of the sleep to see how good of a quality sleep that you just got. All right, number 2, this one's a big one, is cold room. So remember, when your body temperature drops, that's when you get into really good deep sleep. So you need a really cold body temperature. So for me personally, I like to keep my temperature of room in the 60-degree range, between 65 and 69 degrees Fahrenheit. But there are also other hacks you can do. So there's something called a chili pad or Delta 8 sleep, which is basically kind of like a yoga mat, but there's actually cool water being infused into this mat all night, which keeps your body temperature low. So it's kind of like a waterbed mixed with a yoga mat that just decreases your body temperature, making sure that you have deep sleep. Now, point number 3 is one of the biggest. It's a dark room. Now, you can use blackout curtains, but I personally like to use an eye mask. And if I don't have an eye mask, then I'll just take a shirt and just cover my eyes with it. Studies show that you have to have very dark settings, or basically an entirely blacked out room to get the deepest sleep possible. Number 4, it's going to sound really weird, but mouth tape. So you can order paper tape, you can even order these mouth strips on Amazon, or really get it at Walgreens or a pharmacy. But they're saying that mouth tape forces you to do nasal breathing. And when you do nasal breathing, you're calming your nervous system with very slow, deep breaths, and you're actually boosting nitric oxide inside your body, which is actually a vasodilator. And studies show that you want vasodilation in your blood vessels so that your brain can decrease that waste when you sleep. Now, another thing that's not on my list is you want to sleep on your right or left side, because this actually opens up your jugular and your carotid to decrease more waste from the brain. There was a neuroscientist that I was watching on YouTube that says she got like an actual pillow that forces her to sleep on her side because that opens up your carotids. Even Brian Johnson, the guy that's spending $2 million a year on his health, was ultrasounding his carotids, and it showed that he actually had more cerebral flow, or basically more blood flow to his brain when he slept. All right, point number 5, which I'm never good at, is no eating within a 4 to 5 hour window before bed. Brian Johnson makes sure that he doesn't eat 10 hours before bed. Now, I personally can't do that because I love to be in a social environment. I love food and I love friends and family. So I just make sure I try to hit that 4-hour window. And one of the biggest things too is no meat. So just think about it. Your body is breaking down and metabolizing things. And so that takes a lot of energy. So wouldn't it make sense that you don't eat a huge meal and then just go right to bed? I know sometimes it gets you tired, right? Like after eating a lot of pasta or pizza, you get sleepy and then you want to go to sleep. And this is because your stomach or your GI tract is overloaded. And all that energy to break stuff down is making you very sleepy. But you don't really get good quality sleep because your body is breaking stuff down and using energy. So by packing meat in the first meal of the day and then saving veggies or pastas or really anything that's not meat in the second part of the day or your dinner time, that is the best meal choices to make sure that you get deep quality sleep. All right, number 6, again, for me, it's really hard, is screen time. So I know we all do it. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're watching a show on Netflix, and it's in your room, you're doom scrolling. But studies show that the blue light emitted from your laptop, from your phone, from your TV, it actually keeps you up and it doesn't allow you to fall asleep quickly. So if you find yourself tossing and turning, finding it difficult to fall asleep, then simply decreasing your screen time at least 1 to 2 hours before bed by simply reading a book or doing anything other than being on a screen is the best thing you can do. So for the past month, I've been trying to do podcasts. So I'll listen to either an audiobook, some relaxing music, or a podcast, and then do my face routine, my hair routine, just basically all the things before bed. And that helps me just to engage my mind a little bit and also relax me without having screen time. All right, point number 7, we all do it, everyone does it, but no alcohol before bed. I know, a lot of people are like, Mike, but wine is good for resveratrol. And all these European countries do wine and olive oil before bed, and they have the most longevity, right? But look at the stats. Every single time I drink alcohol before bed, my sleep efficiency is totally jacked up. So a good sleep efficiency on a whip strap is about 85% or higher, even on an Oura Ring as well. So by eliminating alcohol before bed, honestly, one of the hardest things to do for me personally, you're gonna get better sleep efficiency and you're gonna feel amazing the next day. You can even test it out on yourself. If you have a whip strap or an Oura Ring, simply drink a few glasses of wine at dinner time and see the efficiency the very next day. And you're gonna be surprised because every single time I do it, my efficiency goes down dramatically. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and don't forget to hit that bell notification button to see our future videos. Thanks.